Today I've got a 1992 Geo Metro convertible. This one's got the G10 3-cylinder engine. It's a 1 liter. I think it makes 54 horsepower. And ever since I have rebuilt this engine, when it gets hot, it idles about 2,500 RPMs. Not a problem for me because it's mostly being used for highway driving. This is everyday driver winter car. Yes, the convertible is used in the winter. And I've been trying to track it down ever since I rebuilt it of what it could be that would make something idle that stupid high. I've tried all the obvious things. The EGR valve was new. There is a air idle adjustment screw you can adjust on the side. There is the actual flapper of the butterfly stop position. There is on this side a throttle position sensor. Over here is the manifold absolute pressure map sensor, and nothing has changed when I was doing a little parts swapping, and I finally the other day figured out what it was. Other things that could create a high idle situation with the throttle plate closed was one of the last things I was checking was the brake booster has a large vacuum tube, probably 1/2 inch diameter, maybe 3/4. I don't know what's in the, if you go ID, OD, whatever. Anyway, I disconnected that one and then it raced up to like 4,500 RPMs, so it wasn't that, because these diaphragms could blow and it'll suck vacuum. So then I was convinced I had a large vacuum leak, and I began looking much closer at how in the heck could that be. And here's what I came up with. Let me get you positioned where I think I can see it on the camera. Long story short, I pressure washed the whole engine, and right here my finger is touching. That is the intake manifold gasket sticking out where it should be about 1/2 inch that way to the left, and sealing up that manifold gasket. Sorry, my camera isn't really good at focusing. I think I've got you on a little better focus now. So here's the gasket piece sticking out the end, and that gap running from left to right is what's supposed to be sealed by that gasket. It is not. A way you can identify something like this is you could spray a solvent near that, and if it sucks it in, it'll rev up the engine. Probably can do it with water. Just don't hydrolock your engine, and water would technically make the engine stall a little bit while you're testing. But I did the solvent test and was able to find that how I didn't see that gasket sticking way out there, or how that happened while I was assembling the engine, I'll never know. Doesn't matter. Gonna fix it. So, just like in any repair, you want to make sure you got your parts. Don't take something apart if you don't think you have the right parts or whatever. This one here happens to say exactly what it fits on there. It's Geo 361 cubic inch 1 liter single overhead cam from 89 to 2000. This is a 92, so that should be it. Intake manifold, and that's my part number and everything else for this particular vehicle. So always make sure you got your parts handy, especially, you know, possibly you could have a part that's not available anymore, and you go to the auto parts store thinking you're going to get an easy pick, and no dice, and now you got your car apart. And just a little side tip there, just make sure the parts are available before you get into it, because you're going to be taking off the manifold, and then if you didn't have something else to drive, you wouldn't be able to get the parts. You've all been there. So I'm going to just start with the easy excavation stuff. The wing nut's missing on mine, so that'll save me some time. This, I'm just going to take the whole assembly out of the way, give me the most room. That already exposes quite a bit. Get you around here. Now, even at that, we can already see some of the bolts we're going to need to get. There's probably 6 of them, 8 of them, I don't know. Not too bad. As long as everything moves back out of the way properly, this shouldn't be too involved of a job. Another thing I noticed is on a new gasket, this one is basically metal. So it won't get out of place like that one, or it won't rip and tear, or if I had an engine backfire, if that's how it got out of there, I have no idea. But that's an interesting thing, that a quality Felpro gasket is basically metal that crushes. They put a little ridge in there and it crushes down. Sorry, put a little ridge in there. It crushes down and gives you your seal. So interesting possible need for improvement, but they've done it here. Possibly that other gasket was inferior, I'm not sure, but I'm just hoping I can get it back and far enough that I don't have to disconnect every last thing here. I know I won't have to disconnect the fuel and the return lines because those are plenty flexible. There's questions on some other stuff, but we'll see what we have to do. I'm going to do the minimum possible to make sure I can get that gasket on both sides scraped clean, removed, and we'll just see what it takes. Now, on most jobs you can get away with, you know, the book always says first thing, take the negative battery cable off. On this one I'm not going to get that cocky because there is my starter terminal right from the battery. And it's a good chance I could, you know, possibly lay that manifold back on it or some component of the manifold. So I will be taking the battery terminal off for this one. So I'm going to start on what's the left side of the engine, passenger side, however you want to say it. I'm just going to get the ones I can see first, and then we'll work on the harder ones later. These could not be easier to get at, the first ones here. It's about as many as I can get with the ratchet. Now it's going to be handwork. This engine's been running for about 2 years like this, so most likely your bolts won't be quite as easy to spin off if yours has never been apart, so you may have to spend a little more time than I am. These ones are coming out unusually well, and I mean that, unusually. I'm going to try to get you around the other side. If your car has crusty wires, you might want to just unplug all these and get them out of your way. I've already replaced that connector. You can see by the wire splices there. So I'm not too worried about this being too crusty, but if you were worried about yours falling apart while you're moving the wires around, legitimate possibility of if they had the green crusties, you might be putting the death roll on the last of the life of them at risk by moving them like I am right now. Probably better to just unplug them, get them out of the way anyway, but this one seems to be going okay. Fight me the whole way. Sorry if my hand's in the way, but it's in the way of myself too, not just the camera. Alright, I should have one more on the bottom. This bracket has its own bolt going into the manifold. I think only the manifold, maybe not the block too. Yeah, I wouldn't think they would put two bolts in the same place. Actually, I'm going to figure that out right now by looking at the gasket. Okay, so I've got the gasket in my hand here. I'm going to try to let you see that. This is the side we're concerned about. And what I see is a hole probably for the PCV system and a bolt hole. I don't see a second bolt hole next to it. So my belief is that bolt holds it on, or that is the PCV hole. This is the bolt hole, and the other hole that holds this bracket only goes into the intake manifold only, not into the block, so that one doesn't have to be removed. Now, in case you're using this as a how-to video, it's how I do it, not how-to. But anyway, if you look at the silver extension bar, that bar, even though I'm going to be cranking on it way back here, is going into the intake manifold, the last bolt down there. I just figured it's easier to get the ratchet to spin, to rotate way out here. That's going to be a fun one to get back on. I'm just twisting it. These are studs. Most of what's on the engine is studs, except for this one, which was a bolt, and the one on the end over here, I believe. And I just dropped a nut, but I don't care. Okay, I think that's all of those. Let's see. Yeah, she come right loose. And my antifreeze is coming out. Why didn't I know that was going to happen? Okay, a little unexpected there. I didn't think the antifreeze ran through the intake manifold on this one. I thought it just went in the throttle body, back out, and then separately in the engine, but that's not the case. So I've got a pan under there. Alright, it's off. Now I've got to clean up all the gasket surfaces on both sides. Alright, I saved you the pain of watching me scrape that gasket, but basically I use one of these tools. I like this kind because it has a replaceable razor blade there. You just got to watch on the aluminum, don't dig. Just, you know, make sure you got a nice new razor blade and you just unclip it and put another one. You could use anything, but this tool seems to be particularly useful getting around the bolts, because mine was mostly remaining on the engine side, not the manifold side. And to get around the studs, it was pretty handy. You want to make sure you get it all, because you don't want a high spot near the bolt. You'll get no clamping force anywhere else, just at the bolt stud. Also, before, I may have called this the PCV. That's actually the EGR, the exhaust gas recirculation. It has a port there that comes from the engine back up into the exhaust gas recirculation valve, goes into the intake. I may have misspoke and called that a PCV. Okay, got my gasket ready. Gonna see if I can get this thing pushed back, get this on the studs. That's a lot of studs to get it over at the same time, I'm finding. There it goes. And it's not sticking out the end this time. I think that's going to work a lot better for me. Alright. Now it's a matter of getting this lined up and some reassembly. Let's do it. Got you back on the opposite side of the car again. So let's just reverse the order of assembly. Disassembly, rather. Those are, of course, the easy ones, as we discussed earlier. Luckily, you can reach most of this pretty easy. It's really not a bad job to do. There's a lot poorer designs out there. This is the one that was a little buggered to begin with, the threads. Fought me getting it off. Now it's going on pretty good, I guess. Now, the most difficult one was the one on the right side, and I've dropped that nut somewhere on the engine, so I have to locate that. It did not fall to the ground. Let's go fishing. Maybe somewhere down there. Somewhere over there. Nobody yet. Nobody yet. I cannot find that thing. It's gotta be right down there, but where? I think it might be stuck to the starter motor because that's probably magnetic. Although I can't see it. Plan B, bring it back. False alarm, ladies and gentlemen. It did make it to the ground. It was there the whole time. Show you a quick tip I learned from the monks while I was out in the Himalayas, or maybe it was like some guy on YouTube, I don't know. Just put the nut in there, and I'm just going to put some black tape around it so it'll hold the nut. I can go in straight, and then that tape should be weak enough where I'll be able to pull my socket back off, hopefully, and leave the fastened nut where it was. Let me get you around the other way. onto something, folks. Will it cross thread or will it go willingly? I think we win. Now, because I have limited access, I'm going to use a power tool here, because then I don't need to swing it and break all my hoses and dry rotted crap. Got it pretty tight. Now let's see what happens when I give it a little more. I can't see any way I'm going to get my torque wrench in here to really torque this right way. So we're just going to go by feel. I'm apparently not getting straight on it. Or that stud is sticking out too far and I have a standard socket, not a deep well. I think that might be more what it is. And as we had hoped, it slipped off the bolt and left me with my socket, which is a bonus. I'll just go around, tighten all those up, bring you back. Okay, I was just going around looking at things. I'd knocked that yellow wire off, which is, I believe, the intake temperature sensor. Just make sure you got all your hoses back in, that you didn't break any hoses off, like the fuel lines especially. This one was already broken on mine, the plastic thing. This is a solenoid that opens if you turn on the air conditioning and allows a little vacuum leak to let the idle raise up a little bit. This piece goes, the air cleaner goes onto that. We have a plug that goes onto the air cleaner, and I'll just piece that back together and we'll give it a test run, see if she idles lower. Which way do you go? That way. Yep, we're there. I've just got to get that wing nut. I don't know where that thing disappeared to. That's for another day. Alright, I got it fully heated up. It's idling at about 1500, which is way different than it used to be. It's real low on power, so now I know I have to adjust my timing if I want to do anything right, because it's never been able to be adjusted because it's supposed to be idling at 850, and you set the timing when it's idling at 850. Well, it could never idle at 850, so hopefully now if I adjust the timing, we'll be in business. So right now, as you can see, it's running about 14, almost 1500, 1400, fluctuating a little bit RPM. So I'm going to try to set the timing first, and then we'll go from there. it looks like this one likes to run fast. Still do not have a definitive answer why it's revving so high. I've tried shorting out the plug that you're supposed to do, and when you're gonna time it, I timed it. It wouldn't run right at that timing. I have to put it to a different setting than what the factory says, but anyway, it likes to run 2,000 RPMs. As soon as you put it in gear, it goes way low, so that's fine. But I had to put it back where it's happy. If I put it back where the timing, where it wants to be, it just wants to die, and it's just not right. I don't know. The computer's not controlling the idle for me for some reason. Regardless, the engine runs. It runs smoothly, even though it wants to pull a little more at stoplights than you'd wish. The second you put it in gear, of course, it drops to a normal speed because it doesn't have the horsepower to override, you know, the high idle like a V8 might. But still a little bit of a mystery for me. But I'm going to call this one good. I got the intake manifold done. That was the job for today. And thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Okay, so this one likes to idle high. Still, I'm not quite sure why. I did all the procedures for timing. It won't run if it's timed properly. I have no reason to believe that the timing belt has skipped or anything like that, or that I put it together wrong. It's something with the way the throttle body is controlling the fuel. Computer, don't know. Doesn't really matter. The job for today was the intake manifold gasket, and that's complete. So I'm going to call that intake manifold gasket job Wildwood certified. Thanks for watching.